Alola, human Latiosites! So this is LatiosAzurill.
Good evening, everyone. My name is JoshuaTubeGaming.
Yeah, here we are talking about Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Because the Sun and the Moon weren't Ultra enough, apparently.
Yes. And if you guys didn't see, our previous video was, our previous collaboration video was on Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, but we were speculating what would be in it. So now we can actually say what we were right about and what we were wrong about.
I cannot remember any predictions I made. So
I have to watch that again.
I'm going to assume I'm wrong about everything. Or was wrong about everything. I don't know. But I can tell you my thoughts. and I definitely have thoughts. Well, let's start with you. What were your predictions that were right or wrong?
When I was doing my thinking, when I was like just sitting down thinking what would be in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, I was thinking a lot about what would happen with the Team Rainbow Rocket post game. And let me tell you, they did a lot more than I thought. I thought all it was going to be was you would have to go around the island, encounter the leaders, and then you have to capture them. But instead, you actually explore more of Lusamine's house, and you actually get to do puzzles and battle them.
Well, to be fair, it's not technically Lusamine's mansion or whatever. I mean, it technically is. It was a reprogrammed version of it that they basically did. But that's fine. It's basically, it made it more cool, I guess. But the thing is, ultimately, the Rainbow Rocket thing, I thought it was cool. The idea was good. The problem was that it's not that they didn't do as much as I expected. It's that they didn't do enough in general for it. Because I mean, even beyond the fact that it's full of plot holes that make no sense, like, why would it? I can understand, okay, it's cool, these evil leaders, they succeeded in their missions and whatnot, and you get to see what their teams would have looked like had they succeeded, caught the legendary Pokemon, what kind of world they left behind by accident when they were pulled in from whatever to through the Ultra Wormhole or whatever. But it doesn't make any sense why they would work with Giovanni.
I mean, I see what you mean with that, because they don't know who they are. I mean, they don't know each other. It's not like they collaborate or they talk through some kind of communication. They all come from their own perspective of ruling the world.
I mean, yeah, well, I did like how they give you a slight glimpse of, like, when the Maxie and Archie met each other, like that, and they basically said there's, that they can't imagine a world where the other one succeeded. That was a nice touch they put in there, but it just doesn't make any sense as to why any of these leaders would work with Giovanni in the first place. Like, what do they have to gain? They already have everything else. I mean,
to be honest, you have a point, because they have their legendaries, they have a decent team. They also have, like, they live in a world where they have everything they want. So what else could they come out of it?
Well, I guess they want power elsewhere. They want to expand. Like, if you have all the land you could possibly conquer, what do you do next? You conquer more land. It
happens in history as well.
But, well, yeah. But the thing is, it doesn't make any sense, because working with Giovanni wouldn't get anything extra for themselves, because it would just be more for Giovanni.
All that work?
Well, the thing is, their missions have nothing to do with Giovanni's. What they want has nothing to do with it. Cyrus wants to destroy Spirit. Well, that has absolutely nothing to do with what Giovanni's after. Lysander wants to destroy the world. What does that have to do with Giovanni? If that happened, Giovanni would have no world to conquer. Their goals are so disjointed and made no sense. That was my problem with it.
The type of perspective that you're saying it from, I'm starting to agree with you. So what would you think would make the Rainbow Rocket episode better? Like, what could have been added?
I don't know how they could have been able to do that, other than if you, instead of having the Ultra Wormhole thing put them together, if instead of having the leaders having succeeded and come from different worlds, the leaders having failed came down to the point where they had nothing left to lose, so they worked together to try to do some mission to take power. However, the thing is, if they did that, they wouldn't be able to use Archie and Maxie, because the one thing that Archie and Maxie did the other leaders really didn't do is they actually learned a lesson and actually tried to change their thinking. So I feel like the fact that they did all that with Archie and Maxie, in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire especially, was the main reason why they used the Ruby and Sapphire version of Archie and Maxie in the episode RR.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like another reason for it is they didn't want to make the game too difficult by giving them the primal reversions. But
well, it's already difficult. I mean, in the end, you battle Giovanni,
with the
to level 70. So it's like you start with like level 50 Pokemon and you go to level 70.
Well, yes, but keep in mind Archie and Maxie were the first leaders you faced.
Like level 65 Pokemon.
So, something like that. I don't remember the exact levels, but I mean the difficulty. It's a Gen 7 game. It's gonna be easy. I mean,
well, compared to the types of games that you play on your channel, I can see where you're coming from.
I mean, even compared to like Gen 4 and 5 games. I mean, if you don't count the Johto games. I mean, Johto games are pretty simple, except for Red, but that's because there's a level spike. But, like, even by not comparing it to ROM hacks, it's just, I mean, the experience share kind of has a lot to do with it, I guess, in terms of levels. But,
right.
I mean, this has nothing to do with Episode RR, but look at the levels of the Pokemon League. You do basically you have this level spike after you get to the point where you do the final not the final one, the Komo mission trial. Then you battle the Necrozma form depending on the game. Then you go into Ultra Space and you battle the Ultra Necrozma at level 60 with like buff stats. It's like an insane battle for someone who's not prepared for it. I mean, if you have a Metagross, it's the easiest battle you could ever do, because it can't touch you.
On the internet, I used Marshadow Spectral Deep, okay? I admit, I used an Uber to defeat Ultra Necrozma, and I completely regret it.
Okay, I don't see why that matters. I mean,
the
idea of playing a game is to have fun with it, so I mean, if you enjoy using Marshadow, use Marshadow.
And KOing him, so I guess yeah.
I mean, Spectral Thief all you want, but the thing is though, well, the point is though that there are easy ways to basically body that thing, but the thing is afterward, the levels don't go up. In fact, the Trial of Mina has lower levels than the Necrozma.
What was that level again?
Level 60, I think. For Mina's Trial, I don't know, I think like 55 to 60 or something like that. I don't remember, but I remember the levels went down after you battle Ultra Necrozma, and then like, once you go through the, oh yeah, spoilers and whatnot, once you go through, a little late for that, but once you go through the Pokemon League, I believe the champion battle, highest level Pokemon's like 60 or something. If I recall, maybe it's
like that.
I think maybe it's 65. I don't remember, but it's not. It doesn't. The level increase stops.
No, I get what you're saying.
I mean, I mean when you have that massive increase boost in experience with the XP share, and then the levels of the opponent stop increasing, you're getting way over leveled for things, so it's easy to end up battling the Pokemon League 10 levels over leveled.
Right.
I understand.
No, I get what you're saying.
Well, the thing with Nuzlocke in the Alola games is that Nuzlocke, I think the biggest thing with Nuzlocke concerned is that with this goes for Sun and Moon as well. It's not that they're difficult games in terms of Nuzlocke. It's that certain things have ways of being completely broken that get free KOs because of Z moves are basically the killers in that game. Because if you're battling a boss trainer, they just pull out a Z move out of nowhere and bam, you have a death on your hand. Or you can face a totem that basically has like double attack stat, where you should, if you're on par, you should be able to take a hit, except now you're not. I mean, that's kind of the issue there. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but that's where the challenge, I feel like, comes from in that case.
Right, yeah, I get your point. So, just going back in general with that whole Rainbow Rocket episode, I like its plot, its storyline. I like all that. I just wish, you know, like you said earlier, I wish they'd done more. So,
I like the premise. I don't like the plot because it makes no sense. That's my take on it.
In some ways, yeah. I mean, I give it a solid 7 out of 10. I don't know if you are similar in those ratings, but, you know.
I would give it probably a 5 out of 10 because I don't hate it because it's cool. The premise is cool, but I really think I have to criticize it in terms of because they could have done so much better with it, and they just gave something that was just not well written.
Right.
Okay,
so yeah, I see what you mean.
I mean, I'm not saying people play Pokemon for the story, but there are just so many plot holes that it's concerning.
Yeah, you know, we all have opinions, so, you know. So what did you think of the story, like how they altered the story?
Altered the story. Well, what did you think of the story?
Here's the thing. This is actually a funny story. So, I went to my local library about a week before Ultra Sun Ultra Moon came out, and I rented Sun and Moon because I wanted to see how the game compared to Ultra Sun Ultra Moon so I could give it a proper critique. So I played through the game, speed-runned it. Well, I didn't really speed-run it. I just played it really quickly, ignored the entire storyline, and I enjoyed it. So then a week later, when the game came out, I bought the game, and I enjoyed how they altered the story. I like how they included that whole Ultra Recon Squad. They had like a new Ultra Beast, and how they were tied in with Necrozma and Light.
Okay. So you like the Ultra Recon Squad?
That was really the main component that made the story a lot different, in my opinion.
Okay. I felt like the story of this game... Well, the first thing I have to say is the story... I thought these were improvements to Sun and Moon overall as games, playability-wise. I do think they did add more to the table. However, I feel like that was at the expense of the story. I felt like, compared to Sun and Moon, the story was subpar. In Sun and Moon, the protagonist of the story in Sun and Moon was not the player. It was Lily. Lily was the one that went through a story arc. She was the one who the events of the story revolved around. She was the one who changed throughout the story. She was the one that the story focused on. You were the one that basically did most of the stuff to make things happen, but she was the one with the actual story arc. So technically... And she was the one that ended up, at the end, riding into the sunset. Now, in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, that was not exactly the case, because the thing is, in Sun and Moon, Lily was able to, in the end, she basically came to the point of from basically doing everything her mother said before she ran away. Like, her mother even dressed her up as a Nihilego because Lusamine was, like, obsessed with Nihilego for whatever reason. Whether or not that had to do with Moan, I don't really think that matters. But, by the end, Lily basically came... after she was kidnapped, after Lusamine went into Ultra Space or whatever, Lily, when trying to rescue her, confronted her about it, and that was basically tying up her story arc. Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, unlike Sun and Moon, Lusamine wasn't the villain. That destroyed Lily's story arc in some way, because Lily wasn't able to actually to complete that story arc, because basically instead of being about someone being able to get past their mother being crazy and confronting this, she basically decided to get her mother, her mission became to get her mother back to be with her mother. And I felt like that kind of harmed the story in that respect.
I see what you mean. That is a very interesting point of looking at it.
So, I mean, I'm okay with not having a villain, but I don't like the fact that they did that with Lusamine, plus the fact that she had no reason to other than just being crazy to betray the Ultra Recon Squad, and go and jump into Ultra Space to try to take on Necrozma herself. It just made no sense. Thing is,
I feel like Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon have more foreshadowing than Sun and Moon. I could be wrong, but that's just my opinion.
Well, I feel like part of that might be because well, with the story that you already, keep in mind, you already know the story of Sun and Moon when you're playing through Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon for the most part. At least you're probably expected to. But the thing is, in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, they've put more focus on how. Which, in Ultra Sun, in Sun and Moon, they didn't give that much focus to Hal, to be honest. He was just kind of there. In Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, they basically went more in depth there. But the thing is, the time when they were basically, instead of putting all that focus on Lily like they did in Sun and Moon, in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, they basically pushed some of that focus onto Hal and his team's work on completing the Island Challenge and then becoming the challenger for champion rather than Kukui. Which, I mean, okay, but once again, I think the problem was that it was at the expense of Lily's character arc. As for foreshadowing, I guess, I mean, I don't think there was that much of a difference overall, other than they just started talking about Necrozma.
I mean, who could have predicted that Lusamine would eventually jump into the wormhole, like in Sun and Moon? Who could have predicted that?
Well, to be fair, they didn't really foreshadow that Lusamine was going to jump into the wormhole in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. I mean...
That was like a main part of the story, so I thought they would.
Well, they didn't really talk about that beforehand, because the idea was she was working with the Ultra Recon Squad to find a way to be able to stop Necrozma, whereas she basically betrayed them by using Cosmog to open up a wormhole to send her there.
That was the thing. They did that in Sun and Moon as well. That was one thing that was same about them. They used Cosmog.
Yeah, well, that's another one of the plot holes that I... Okay. You know what? You said you like the Ultra Recon Squad. Here's the bottom line about Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon in my opinion for it. The Ultra Recon Squad, in my opinion, is the worst thing about Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon.
Why do you say that?
I don't dislike the Ultra Recon Squad. The problem is it creates way too many plot holes. Because here's the thing. The Ultra Recon Squad, they have a Solgaleo and a Lunala. Why can't, first of all, why can't they use them? When they battle you, the first time they battle you, they found a random Furfrou and they use it against you. Then afterward, they use their Poipole.
That was kind of stupid when they actually used the,
Well, the Furfrou was just a random Pokemon they happened to have found that they were testing out using. I don't understand why they released the Furfrou, though. They couldn't just battle with the Furfrou and the Poipole later on. I don't get that.
Okay, I see what you mean.
But even beyond that, because I don't get why they would release the Furfrou, but even beyond that, let's ignore that for a second, and the fact that all they have is the Poipole. Why would Lusamine need Cosmog? Her guests have the legendary Pokemon already. They have a Lunala and a Solgaleo. Why would she need a Cosmog? She could take advantage of them and use their legendary Pokemon. It makes absolutely no sense. The story itself makes no sense.
Yeah, actually, and I'll agree with you. Oh my god, Latios. Yes,
That is why the Ultra
understand.
Recon Squad is the worst part of the story in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon.
If they did all that stuff, would you like them?
If what?
Just said, like, you know, Lucamine used the Ultra Recon Squad for the legendaries to get into the portal and all that other stuff. Would you appreciate them?
If she did that, the story wouldn't have happened because Lily wouldn't have rescued Cosmog. Lily wouldn't have had to rescue Nebby from Lucamine, and she never would have left Aether Paradise. The whole story thing wouldn't have happened and so when you went there, you'd just be on your island challenge. You wouldn't even be involved. The Cosmo would basically destroy the world because Lucamine would have failed, and that would have been that. The story couldn't have happened. If Lucamine took advantage of them and used their Solgaleo or Lunala to get into Ultra Space, the story wouldn't have happened.
Interesting. I actually, I mean, I obviously still have my opinion. That's not changing, but I like how you look at it because you're very, you analyze it so carefully. I'm just really fascinated that you were able to figure that out.
Well, I mean, that was basically just some of the thoughts that were going through my head when I was going through this, because the revelation that the Ultra Recon Squad were using the Solgaleo and the Lunala it baffles my mind how Cosmog was even necessary in the plot once to Lucamine once. I mean,
that's over the minds of the Pokemon Company.
So, I mean, they even basically admitted that the more experienced team were busy working on Pokemon Switch, while the lesser experienced people were writing Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. I mean, basically, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon were basically just meant to be a slightly improved, different take on Sun and Moon. I mean, they didn't really contribute anything that new. They added a couple new Pokemon, but, I mean, as far as the new Pokemon they added, Poiple's cool, I guess. Naganadel is a really cool Pokemon. I'm just not a huge fan of its shiny sprite. Stakataka it's a wall. I don't really get it. It's a wall. Cool. Blacephalon, it's a killer clown. Just the twist is it kills itself. What can I say? I don't get it. Mind blown.
That is so funny how they now. Oh my god.
I mean, Zeraora, they didn't even officially release because it's mythical. I guess it's cool.
What about the Lycanroc?
Lycanroc Dusk. Honestly, it's better than the other two Lycanrocs. Which basically means the other two Lycanrocs are no longer necessary. Which is not a good thing, because now why would you ever use the other two Lycanrocs when you can have the improved one? When you have one that's basically the best of the other two, what good are the other two now? They just screwed over the other two forms of Lycanroc! Good job, Game Freak!
Okay, I see where you're coming from, but what if you weren't, what if you couldn't get it in time? What if you weren't able to get in the giveaway?
GTS.
What if you get the Rockruff and it's like, I mean, yes, you can get the Dust Form Lycanroc from GTS, but like, what if you were looking for Rockruffs with own tempo and you ended up getting a Rockruff that has the wrong one? Would you keep searching and searching until you got one with own tempo?
No, you search for a Dusk Lycanroc and then breed.
Wow. I don't do breeding, so that's a concept that I really don't think about. Oh well.
I mean, how else are you gonna get the right IVs in nature?
Kind of true. So what else? I mean, so yeah, the story was okay, like you said. I definitely appreciate that the less experienced team actually tried, and they actually included a couple new components, you know, like Rainbow Rocket. They twisted the story a little bit, but again, I have to give them, you know, credit. I mean, yes, they are less experienced, but they did a good job for less experienced team.
One thing I didn't really comment as far as new Pokemon go is I didn't talk about the new forms in Necrozma. I do like them. I like all three of them. They're cool. The Ultra Necrozma it's a bit much, but I like it.
I like the Ultra form. It's just like so mythical.
I mean, it's not mythical. It's legendary.
It's something that will just destroy a village.
I mean, yeah, I like it. I don't really have any real complaints there. But
amazing.
I understand. Like, look, I actually like these games. I understand I'm ripping them to shreds here, but I do like them. I did say, and I agree with that assessment, that I think they are still technically, playability-wise, improvements from Sun and Moon. The problem is the story is just not nearly as good. the problem is the story.
Like, let's say Game Freak focused on the story and they completely changed the story. Would the game be a lot better?
If they didn't focus on the story?
Fully focused on...
Well, I think one of the problems is Sun and Moon. The big thing about Sun and Moon, it was completely story-centric. Everything revolved around the story. It wasn't like in X and Y where everything was about the journey that you were taking, and then the Team Flare stuff was just thrown in, because, I mean, the Team Flare stuff was not done well in X and Y. I don't think anyone really can fully argue that. Some people might like Team Flare and whatnot, but I mean, yeah, honestly...
I'm okay with them, you know, Lysander's method of having a new world is very similar to Cyrus's.
Yeah, to me, Team Flare was basically discount Team Galactic. That was my biggest grievance there.
Right. So X and Y introduced like the fairy type, which
X and Y are some of my favorite games. Like Gen 6 is probably my favorite generation if you count the remakes, because Boras are probably my favorite games of all. Gen 6, I mean, Gen 7, the biggest issue I have with it is the fact that it's so slow. The frame rate is abysmal. It's so bad that they had to get rid of triple rotation battles.
Yeah.
Battle royales, I don't get it. I mean, they're okay, but honestly, I'd rather them just be like actual free-for-all, like the free-for-all battles where it's until someone wins rather than until one person loses. I mean, I get part of the reason why it ends when one person loses is because you might have someone DC after they lose, but I still don't like that. Because then it becomes way too offensive, and then defense in a... Because then defense in the Battle Royale just means nothing.
Right.
No, but that's about Sun and Moon, not about Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon now.
Okay, so story was great. Again, if they just did a little more with it, I thought they would do a little better. You know, Rainbow Rocket, again, you know, the plot was just completely out of hand, or like completely mixed up.
Well, I think that's the biggest problem with Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. The plot of the game, everything story-wise in the game just didn't make sense. The game was good, it was playable, it was fun, it was enjoyable, but it didn't make sense. And that's the problem. There were too many plot holes.
If you were to put yourself in a person's shoes where they have not played a single Pokemon game and this was their first, how would they react? In your opinion?
I mean, it depends, because I mean, if they don't know anything about Pokemon, I can only rate this as a Pokemon game. I can't really talk about this in terms of as a video game, because I don't have the background to talk about video games in general without outside of the spectrum.
I'm just trying to see, because it would be interesting to see if I were just give my 3DS to a kid and I had a new Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon file loaded up, and I let them play for like maybe an hour, would they feel enjoyable? Would it feel enjoyable to them?
I don't see why not. The only problem is it's very tutorial central in the beginning, just like in Sun and Moon.
I mean, that's okay, I guess, you know.
Yeah, but if you give them 1 hour to play it, they'll barely get anywhere, and they'll probably get bored.
To the first trial, so yeah.
They're not going to get to the first trial in 1 hour. They'll be lucky if they get to Halloween City in 1 hour.
For, like, trainer school and all that stuff, yeah.
So...
Oh, okay, last thing I want to talk about with you. The Festival Plaza, okay? I hate it.
The Festival Plaza. Such a cool concept, it's terrible. I love the concept, but it just doesn't... It never did work, it can't work, especially because of the PSS. They replaced the PSS with this POS, and that's...
Yeah, here's the other problem. Like, if I wanted to play one of my friends in Pokemon, I would have to search through them, because only a limited number of players are shown, and if you wanted to find them right away, you would have to add them to your VIP list.
Yep. I know, it took me forever to figure that whole thing out. It's not good for multiplayer stuff, but once again, that's the Sun and Moon thing. The only thing I can criticize here is the fact they didn't get rid of it. Instead, they doubled down on it.
Well, okay, so here's the other thing I like. The one thing I like about the Festival Plaza is that you can design it, because to this day, I still have the Rainbow Rocket design because it just looks so cool.
I still have the Rainbow Rocket one because I'm not at a high enough level to change it to something else. I don't really care.
It's a cool design.
I don't really care that much. I haven't fully beaten the game, so I'm never in the Festival Plaza, but, I don't really care about what the Festival Plaza looks like or whatnot, because it's just the Festival Plaza. It's for online stuff, and honestly, I don't really see the, I mean, it's just meh. It's not good. It could be worse, I'll give you that, but it's just, it's not, compared to what they had in the past, it's terrible.
Right. So, so now I'm just gonna come to a final conclusion. I love the gameplay, I love the bosses, I love the battles, just fix the story mode. That's it. Right? Isn't that what...
Yeah, I can't really argue with that assessment. The story, they had a lot of potential. They made it look cool with the story and all that stuff, but they had a lot of cool things in the story, but they just didn't fit together. So ultimately, it didn't really work.
Okay, so if they, here's my, I know what you mean. So here's what I think. If they delayed the game to come out in like middle December, so they delayed it by like a month, I feel like they could have patched the ideas a little more, and maybe the game would have been slightly better because of that.
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure before they even started the production of the game, they already wrote the story and already had an idea of where it was going. An extra month wouldn't have changed that.
Yeah, where it was going, why would you think it makes no sense when it comes onto the game?
Well, when it comes to plot holes that are... The plot holes themselves are the premise of the story. You can't fix that. If the story itself is fundamentally flawed, there's really nothing you can do to fix it but write a new story. Because the original story was already perfect. They had no reason to change it other than because of corporate mandate to put out a new game with a different spin on it. But
so they pretty much copy-pasted.
It was, yeah, copy and pasted with a bunch of changes for the sake of changes. And it just didn't work because of that, because it became a Pokemon version of Mad Libs.
Right. So what's your final rating for the game? Would you, like, I give it like an 85% if I was doing our percentage.
I mean, once again, it's kind of hard for me to say because am I rating it as an overall game, or am I rating it compared to what compared to the fact that Sun and Moon is a thing? Because I'm doing it as an overall game. That's how I'm doing it.
My
rating would be contingent on the fact that Sun and Moon exists. If I rated it as if Sun and Moon didn't exist, I'd give it a higher rating. Because while there are a bunch of plot holes, I wouldn't have seen something that was done a lot better.
Right.
So I mean, I'll give it an 8 out of 10 as a game. But in terms of the story, the story itself.
Didn't exist. You would give it like a 9 out of 10?
No, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I honestly, I'd give it a low 8 out of 10 since Sun and Moon exists. Well, I guess 7 out of 10 because of Sun and Moon. I'll give it an 8 out of 10 despite that, though. As an overall game. I guess 6 or 7 out of 10 because of the story. I'd rate the story probably a 3 or 4 out of 10 overall. I think it's cool, but the story just doesn't make any sense. But the game itself, I'll give a 7 or 8.
Like the game, despite us, you know, we both have our different ways of thinking about the game. I had a really crisp experience. You know, I spent hours upon hours. I spent like, you know, I've already put 70 hours into the game.
Well,
so
look, I mean, here's the thing. I'll give the game an 8 out of 10. I love the game. I thoroughly enjoyed playing the game through Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. I got so many shinies in Ultra Moon, it's insane, but I do have mixed feelings about them making some of those shinies way too accessible now, because they really did lower the value of shinies, but I really don't care that much in general, because they're not guaranteed shinies through the Ultra Wormholes. So I'm not going to complain too much about it. I know some people have. My concern is the fact that there are more plot holes than there are Ultra Wormholes. So that's the overall thing there. But once again, the plot holes I think do harm the game, but I don't think they necessarily, in my opinion, they didn't harm my enjoying the game. They didn't harm my experience of the game. They just harmed, I think, the game itself as its own entity in terms of replayability, because the game doesn't make any sense. That's my take on it. So I'm gonna say the game's good. I'll give it an 8 out of 10, but the story just didn't work.
So I guess that being said, you know, a great game. I enjoyed it. I'm hoping Pokemon on Switch will be like a great game. I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, hopefully it'll be a good game. Of course, first I need a Switch.
Yeah. Thing is, I don't have a Switch, so I'll hopefully have a Switch by then. So,
yeah,
you know,
it'll be my first non-handheld console. Oh, it's our handheld console anyway. But with that, I think we pretty much have explored our thoughts on Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon.
I think keep going, to be honest, but there's nothing else to talk about. Everything else would be the same. You know, the battles themselves, everything else is...
Yeah, I mean, it was Sun and Moon. It was basically Sun and Moon Mad Libs. But they added enough stuff that it was cool. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's just the story didn't make any sense. So, not to repeat myself.
Well, I guess that's it.
Yeah, so be sure to tell your thoughts in the comments below. So thank you for watching. As always, like, comment, subscribe, check out JoshuaTubeGaming. Subscribe there, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.